there's things about skiing that I'm just like, no, people actually die just like doing stupid normal shit on skiing because you lose track or you're not paying it. It's sort of to go with a Star Wars reference. You know, you see those speeders when they're like on the forest moon of Endor with the where the Ewoks live and they're all like flying around. It's like you fuck up, you're just distracted. You lose your balance. Something happens. You have to have really. It's like pod racing. You got to have really good fucking reaction time. And if you fuck up, you can hit a tree going even just on a not super dangerous slope fast enough. You will break enough bones in your body that by the time they get to airlift you, even prepared, it's too late. You know, just based on that's just how things are. And no, this is video games, but still, people can do amazing things, you know, with a little bit of help and with the right sort of the workarounds and a lot of fucking faith, I would say. Fuck. It's a lot of fucking faith. But to me, that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is I'd like to see more inclusion in games, and I'm glad that I actually did this, because I really didn't think I would play through this. Because I'd heard so much about, yeah, no, it's real fun, but it's real hard. Because a lot of people aren't going to be like, oh no, I'll totally humble myself and play on easy mode, man. Like, I don't expect to beat this. I don't care. And so as a result, you know, I'm willing to admit I just wanted to play, and I'm glad I did because I thought it was a fun ride, thought it was an interesting journey, and I'm really glad that I got to see them add that it was easier, you know, and I'd like to see more games be more inclusive and do more things that would help other games of all genres be more inclusive. You know, there's so many things that make playing certain games very difficult for people. And because there's all sorts of different types of people, and you know, there's like back in the 80s or 90s, a bunch of kids had an epileptic seizure watching an episode of Pokemon or playing the game at a certain level. Like something happened and it did that to them, and it's like that's not a perfect example of inclusion, obviously, but it's showing how like people who may not even know they have problems, you know, difficulties or some sort of barrier to entry could, and that once they know that, then they can't do certain things. And I would like for things to be made where you can go through the menu and you can click just the same thing. Like, I think every game should have it so you can remap the buttons. I realize there's a lot of games they don't allow that to happen because people will basically... They can do that on PC most of the time, and then PC players are just that much better, and they're like PC Ultimate Race or whatever, Master Race. But they don't do that on other things, you know, on consoles for whatever reason, because it gives too much of an edge, I guess. And a lot of times crossplay wasn't as big a thing, but I just want to see more freedom in games, even if it takes a little more time. And I want more people to be able to play games of all kinds, no matter what your personal capacities and abilities might be. I think that the feeling I get personally from being able to play this game and reach the end of the story was very valuable to me. Even more so because I never really expected to take the time and effort to do it. So I would like to see that more for other people who have even greater difficulties to overcome, you know? Like, I'm amazed when people do things that they shouldn't be able to do because they have some sort of limitation or inability. Like there used to be a blind skateboarder. I think he passed away, but I think he had some other issue. I don't think it was related to skateboarding. And his way of, like, I think I saw him on like a Stan Lee show where the people who have superpowers, and he used this form of echolocation so that he could skateboard, which to me is just insane, you know. But and there's all sorts of other examples of people who can do amazing things, but outside of video games. But I'd also, and inside of video games, I'd like to see more people have more options and more freedom to play games. That's basically, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's the point. And I thought the game itself was really fun. The combat was really fun. I would have enjoyed a bigger skill tree. I'm okay with it not being that long, especially since I didn't expect to beat it. The gameplay was pretty tight for the most part, but that may just be because I think it is, and I'm not used to playing games like this. Personally, I feel like that dodge mechanic wasn't as good as I would want it to be. It's a little sloppy. I didn't really have great control over it. And again, that might just be me. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe the dodge is on par and I just suck, and that's totally fine. The block and that was all in my favor because it was easy or whatever. And maybe the dodge mechanic was doing something in my favor that I was unaware of, which is cool, but that might have been why it felt sloppy. Because usually I'm good at dodging and stuff, and I felt like a lot of times I just sort of ended up, well, that's not where I meant to be. I'll just make best with it. The attacks were good, but they were so good that it was basically like, you have to do it exactly when you're supposed to, and if you don't, then you're definitely going to miss. There wasn't a lot of error of margin, and the sad thing is, I'm sure there probably was quite a bit of error of margin for my play through, for my level of difficulty, which just makes me wonder, like, I don't really want to see how hard this game is without, playing easy. I just don't want to see how difficult it would be for me to even do that, even knowing. But it was a fun game, decent story. Didn't really trust my crew the entire time. They always just kept, but maybe that was on purpose. And again, there's other games that have made me feel like, oh, well, now I'm worried, Maybe that was just to make us worry. And maybe there's multiple endings. Because for him to be like, we spent this entire time getting those things. Well, we'll leave it up to the Force, snipped. Like, I don't know how I feel about all that. That was not necessarily something that... Like, if we were going to do that, we could have done that from the get-go. Like I told you, like that was one of the things I said. I was like, why don't I just do that now? Just like, okay, it's better to save these children than let them fall, prey to that. So let's see if there's going to be any sort of, after credits scene as a sort of like, haha, we knew this would be popular, so we, made it so that there's a preview to the next one. Because I'd heard about the next one before getting this one, and I don't really know much about it, but because I know that there's a next one, I can assume that the main character is probably the same, and that basically means that since it's not a one run and you're done thing, that I have to survive. It's like, oh, well, I'm watching the prequel to a sequel that already exists, to the original, like, it's, So, I don't know. I'm hoping they'll show us something at the end here. And I can react to that. But for what it's worth, I enjoyed the game. And I'm glad that they decided to be nice enough to make it a little easier for somebody like me to play. Because it was an enjoyable experience. And it made me like Star Wars a little more. I have, like many people, kind of fallen away from Star Wars over time because things didn't always go the way, you want. And as a result, did they just stop the music? I guess they just stopped the music. That's really uncomforting now that I've recognized that. You see things not necessarily go the way you want, or the person who is in creative control for the most part goes kind of crazy, or they give it up, or they sell it out, or this person or that. It's like, it just stops being what it was in the first place, even if what it was in the first place was really more valuable in that moment in time, and you're trying to appreciate it for that. But for what it's worth, I enjoyed it, and I want to see more like this. And it did bring me back to Star Wars a little bit more, and I'm thankful for that. Because, you know, the last thing I really enjoyed most about Star Wars was fucking. The most was gonna be something. Should I unlock something? And now I have meditation training and stuff. I missed that thing. It was something. Unlock Journey Plus. Cosmetics from previous games, all lightsaber colors, and additional character appearances have been unlocked. Appearance has been unlocked. Cool. So basically, play the game again, but you know, whatever. And then meditation. You can, yeah, do that. That's cool. I like when they add that sort of stuff. It gives you a reason to start things again. But for anybody who's actually watched this or still here and listened to my whole little fucking thing while just watching the fucking critique or whatever, which was really more a TED talk on how I want to see more inclusivity in gaming, and I kind of saw that this was part of that, and I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Don't neglect your jump button and or your double jump button when it's available. You know, may the force be with you. Peace out. Cuckoo, Cachoo.